Watch carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you spot the key to changing between this open chord and bar chord? Did you spot it? Did you spot the key to changing between that open chord and that bar chord? Well, let me show you. If you're moving away from open chords and getting into bar chords, fantastic, because bar chords offer up a whole new level of possibilities to get cooler sounds out of your guitar. I think it's a really good idea, first of all, to get used to transitioning between open chords and bar chords. You know, as a kind of a bridge between learning your basic open chords and bar chords. In this beginner's guitar tutorial, looking at transitioning between an open chord and bar chords, we're going to look at 4 things. How to form an E-shaped bar chord. Secondly, the importance of your thumb, your third finger. Thirdly, how to transition between a bar chord and a very common open major chord. And fourthly, stick around because I'm going to show you a classic chord progression to help you crush those transitions. So an E-shaped bar chord looks like this here, and it gets its name, the E-shaped bar chord, from, and if we take this off here and move it down 1 fret, this is an E chord, just with slightly different fingers. And all we are doing is shifting everything up 1 fret and putting this first finger down across all of the 6 strings and putting the rest of the chord on. So we're using the first finger here, the second finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string, the 3rd and 4th fingers are on the 3rd fret, the 3rd fret of the A string, and the little finger is on the 3rd fret of the D string. And this is a movable chord because you can move it. So here at the 1st fret, it's an F chord because this note here is where it gets its name. This note here, the 1st fret of the low E string, is an F. And then if we move up 2 frets, we've got F, F sharp, and G. So at the 3rd fret, if we play this E-shaped bar chord, we have a G chord. And as I said, you get the chord from this low E string. So if you know all of the notes on here, you know every bar chord that you can play here. Now to practice this chord, sometimes it's quite difficult practicing it down at the 1st fret. So playing it a little bit higher, sometimes at the 5th fret, which gives us an A chord because that's F, G and A. At the 7th fret, it's a B. So playing it higher up is an easy way to make sure you're getting a clearer sound. So let's look at changing from an open chord, in this case a C major chord, to the bar chord, and we're going to change from C to F. And this is it's quite a simple change, and I think because of this one key that I mentioned earlier. So here's the C chord, and this is the way I play my C, and here's the bar chord. Now the key to getting a smoother change is this finger here. It's the 3rd finger, because this is like your anchor, because it stays in the same position when you play the C chord and then when you play the bar chord, that F chord, and obviously when you go back. All right, it's in the same position. You don't need to change it, you don't need to take it off, you don't even need to move it from where it is really. It can stay in exactly the same position right there. And I think this is the key, this 3rd finger here. This can really help you change between the 2 chords, because sometimes when you change from one chord to another, there's this tendency to take all your fingers off. But if you can see a finger that's in common between two chords, then keep that finger on the fretboard. So practice this back and forth. So C to F. Just practice this a few times. Now it's not a race. You can work on it nice and slowly. You know, you don't need to do it quickly because you can build up your speed over time. And the main thing, I think, as you're beginning this is to make sure it sounds clear. You know, you don't want this sort of thing. Like that. You don't want that. You want it nice and clear, ringing out nicely. Now let's look at the C to the G. Now the G is on the 3rd fret because we have E, F, F sharp, G. This is G here. The bar chord shape goes on here. And we are still using that 3rd finger as an anchor. So if you look at the C chord, C, so what you're going to do now is take off the first 2 fingers and slide that 3rd finger up 2 frets. Then you can put the rest of the chord down like so. So let's try this going back and forward. You just do, there's your C, take off, slide up 2 frets, put the rest down. And again, slowly, you don't need to do it super quickly because you want to get used to moving, to transitioning between the 2 chord shapes. And it's one of those things that will take a bit of time because obviously taking those 2 fingers off is easy enough. But then sliding up, you want to make sure you don't go too quickly and go way past it, or so slowly that you kind of never really get there. The hand position for a bar chord, and let's start with the thumb. Now the thumb is usually directly behind the first finger on the at the back of the neck here, and you can see from this picture that I've got there, it looks like that. The first finger is covering obviously all 6 strings. You'll often see it in chord diagrams that the first finger, it kind of looks like it's completely flat, but it's not. It's kind of on its side, and if you look at my finger there, it's this part of the finger. It's not the flat part, but it's that side of the finger that is pressing on the strings on the fretboard. As for the wrist position, try not to be like this. Okay, try not to have it completely over here because it's impossible to play the chord. Try and have it a little bit back, and also try and have it a little relaxed. If you're kind of tensing, you'll feel some strain along here, which won't be too comfortable for you to play. Now your arm position, you don't want anything like this. You don't want to be leaning back. It should be, you know, it should be almost like a 90 degree, maybe a bit less. My maths was never that great. So you don't want something completely like that or too much like this as you're playing. And the other thing I found that helps me to play the course and to apply the right amount of pressure is by having my guitar quite close to me. I'm kind of pushing the guitar close to my chest, and it's helping. If I have it out like this, it's not so good, but I usually, excuse the microphone, I usually have it kind of pulled towards me as I'm playing. If you're still having problems pressing down the strings, you might want to think about changing the type of strings you have. Now you can get some ultra light gauge strings, some light gauge strings, and I've got a link down below to some strings that you could buy. Check it out. Okay, for the classic chord progression that I want you to use to practice going from C to F and to G, then click on the link right here. It'll take you to a great backing track of the C 12 bar blues progression. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming.